Hi, this is Woodbury High School's submission to the 2018 MnDRIVE Brain Bee Challenge on Neuromodulation and Depression. We will first discuss what depression and neuromodulation are individually. Then we'll discuss how they overlap and delve into some current and future technologies. Depression is a very common mental disorder. Major depressive disorder affects around 16 million or 6.9% of Americans. Although the median age of diagnosis is at around 32 years old, the age group of 18 through 25 years old are the most common to think suicidal thoughts. As many as 1 in 33 children and 1 in 8 adolescents have clinical depression, so depression is pervasive throughout the general public. Depression is characterized by a persistent and pervasive feeling of sadness or loss of interest. It sometimes also comes with disturbances of sleep and appetite, decreased energy, and often cognitive disturbances, such as difficulty concentrating and remembering. Currently, standard antidepressant drugs try to increase the level of norepinephrine or serotonin in synapses. The most common are selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, or SSRIs. Some neuromodulation-based therapies are also in use or in development. Neuromodulation is defined as the alteration or modulation of nerve activity through targeted delivery of a stimulus, such as electrical stimulation of chemical agents to specific neurological sites in the body. It is a very broad definition that includes a lot of techniques. Neuromodulation therapies are commonly used in Parkinson's disease, essential tremor, and even gastrointestinal disorders such as dysmotility. Some of these therapies are invasive, requiring the implantation of some device, normally electrical leads, pumps, or generators, while other therapies are non-invasive and only require external electrodes or magnets. Neuromodulation-based therapies have been used to help battle depression in many ways. In the lab, neuromodulation is used to selectively activate or inhibit certain neurons through optogenetics. To use optogenetics, a genetic construct coding for a specific channel protein or ion pump is inserted into cells of a researcher's choice. These proteins are special because they are sensitive to light. When light shines on them, they can open and allow a specific type of ion to enter the cell. For example, channel rhodopsin 2, which is very similar to the rhodopsins used for phototransduction in your eye, lets sodium into cells when stimulated, which depolarizes the neurons. A different protein, halorhodopsin, can be used to inhibit neurons by opening up channels for chloride to enter the cell. Researchers can use this technology to study the function of specific regions and how they contribute to depression. Electroconvulsive therapy was the first ever neurostimulation therapy, invented over 70 years ago. It is one of the most efficient treatments for depression. ECT is used especially for those with severe depression because the patient may need a more immediate response than they would get from normal medications. In ECT, patients are sedated with a muscle relaxant, and electrodes are placed on their head, and small electric currents pass through the brain, eliciting a brief seizure. Although effective, the side effects may include headaches, muscle aches, and memory loss. Memory loss is much less common in unilateral ECT, where both electrodes are on the same side of the head, than bilateral ECT, where electrodes are on opposite sides of the head. However, bilateral ECT seems to work more quickly and effectively. In terms of other non-invasive electrical methods, transcranial direct current stimulation, or TDCS, has also been shown to be somewhat efficient at treating depression, but the field hasn't quite reached a consensus. Its cousin, transcranial alternating current stimulation, or TACS, is used in some devices on the consumer market, although it hasn't shown much clinical efficiency. We were unable to find any data on TENS being used to treat depression. Another type of non-invasive treatment, transcranial magnetic stimulation, or TMS, uses a magnet to activate the brain. It can be used to diagnose some disorders, but it is also used to treat depression. By the principle of electromagnetic induction, a magnetic coil is placed near the head and electric current is generated. Repetitive TMS, or RTMS, seems to work for depression. Specifically, high-frequency RTMS to the left dorsolateral prefrontal cortex and low-frequency RTMS to the right dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Risks increase with higher frequency RTMS. There is currently an ongoing clinical trial in the recruitment phase at the University of Helsinki on the localization of TMS in treatment of depression. Another non-invasive magnet-based neuromodulation therapy named magnetic seizure therapy combines aspects of ECT and TMS. It is still in the early stages of development, but it is a promising new therapy. On the more invasive side of things, deep brain stimulation, or DBS for short, shows high potential. It was initially developed to treat Parkinson's disease, but also shows potential for depression. To use DBS, electrodes need to be implanted in the brain, and pulse generators need to be implanted somewhere in the chest. Stimulation frequencies and intensities are individual specific. For depression, the subgenial cingulate cortex, or Brodmann area 25, is targeted. Some other regions, like the nucleus accumbens and the ventral capsule, have been targeted as well. DBS seems to be pretty effective, but the side effects can also be bad, like strokes or bleeding in the brain. Another invasive neuromodulation therapy is vagus nerve stimulation, or VNS. VNS was first proposed to treat seizures, but in 2008 it was approved for treatment of major depression. In VNS, invasive surgery is needed to implant a generator under the clavicle and wires up to the left vagus nerve, which is the 10th cranial nerve. The exact mechanism of action is not very well understood. There is an upcoming clinical trial named Restore Life this year of Livanova PLC's VNS therapy system. There are many possible future treatments and advances, but here we mention two. Transcranial focused ultrasound has incredible spatial resolution and delivers highly focused acoustic energy to a small brain region. In mice, transcranial focused ultrasound is able to increase BDNF and neurogenesis, which have both been implicated in depression. DARPA has also recently funded 2 teams to begin preliminary trials of closed-loop brain implants. These implants use machine learning and AI algorithms to detect patterns associated with various mood disorders and stimulate whenever needed. One of these implants is able to measure local concentrations of neurotransmitters in real time and adjust accordingly. In the next few years, neuromodulation will continue to grow and provide new techniques and advances to treat and diagnose depression. Thank you for listening.